te canto, Señor, pidiéndote nos unas en fuerzas y en amor. Te alabo por mil veces, porque fuiste rebelde, luchando noche y día contra la injusticia de la humanidad. Luchando noche y día contra la injusticia de la humanidad.
Mil campesinos unidos te cantamos, bajamos de los cerros con nuestras alforjas repletas de amor, por ser el pecón, el bien justiciero, por ser el Cayacán,
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Friends of Batahola celebration of unstoppable learning at the Cultural Center of Batahola Norte. My name is Tony Perazzo. I'm a co-vice president of the Friends of Batahola, and I'm joining you from beautiful Cincinnati, Ohio. We have folks joining us from across the United States. We have folks joining us from Europe, and we have folks joining us from Nicaragua. I'm so honored to welcome all of you, and I sincerely thank you for sharing an hour of your day with us. I also welcome our esteemed speaker, Sister Helen Prejean, who is joining us from New Orleans, Louisiana. Hola y bienvenidos a todos mis amigos en Nicaragua. We have many friends from Managua joining us, and welcome to them. And I promise all of you that that is the last that you'll hear of my attempt at Spanish. I would like to start by reciting the prayer that starts all of our Friends of Batahola events. This prayer was written in 2014 during a visit to Nicaragua by the Board of Trustees of the Friends of Batahola. At a retreat, the staff of the center and board members from the US wrote this prayer, which speaks to the Friends of Batahola's inseparable bond with the Cultural Center. So I ask you to pause, put yourself in a moment of peace with your Creator, and pray with me. Our Father and Mother, we ask for each of us that you give us strength to serve our neighbor, giving our life with faith, love, and joy that is in our heart. Don't give me riches nor greatness. Allow us to be workers who partake of the fruits, leaving behind our comfort zone so that together we can strive for social justice. Feed our spirit so that it may flower and grow. Fill my cup so that I may share with others. Teach me to feel what they feel. Help me to strengthen my humility, to see their needs, and accompany them in finding their inner peace. Only then will they feel free and full of spirit in their heart. Although in my path there may be stones, although strong walls be built, give me your strength to help, forming and transforming new lives for the community. Let us live from day to day without worrying about tomorrow. God is our strength, rock, shelter, and salvation. From our founder's legacy, we take strength every day to live in common unity, giving our best. Let's keep alive the light of faith and hope. Let us risk ourselves as instruments of transformation of people and of society to build a more just world with equity and without violence. Amen. We have a wonderful lineup for the next hour. We decided to hold this virtual event because the pandemic has prevented us from doing so many of our normal activities. Normally, a delegation of our friends from Managua come up to Cincinnati, Minneapolis, and Baton Rouge each year to visit and share their stories. They were unable to do so this year. Normally, our friends at Immaculate Heart of Mary in Cincinnati hold 2 days of luncheons to partially benefit the center. Normally, delegations of teenagers go to the center and elsewhere in Nicaragua for an immersion experience. And normally, our board of trustees at Friends of Batahola go down to the visit to show our support. Well, as we all know, nothing in 2020 was normal. And here we are. One of the things that struck all of us at the Friends of Batahola is that this stinking pandemic wasn't going to stop learning at the center. Other obstacles they've come over the years weren't going to stop learning at the center. Financial difficulties have not stopped learning at the center. Loss of loved ones due to COVID and other medical tragedy has not stopped learning at the center. At the center, learning is unstoppable. So our agenda for today, we will hear from Sonia Oliveras, the general coordinator of the center, who will give us an update about the pandemic. And we'll follow up that with a tour of the center by Kelsey Overly, who was a volunteer at the center for over a year. Then we're going to come back and talk about some of the very exciting auction items we have in place. We will go back to the center for a presentation by a group of musicians who study there, accompanying a fantastic dancer performing a traditional Nicaraguan dance in national costume. We will come back for a little more info on the auction, and then I will turn things over to Sister Helen, who will share her beautiful stories about her friendship with Sister Margie and her memories of the center. During that time, I will give you my cell phone so that you can text any questions you might like to ask Sister Helen. Then I will wrap things up. So let me say, we'd love for you to donate right now. We have many ways to donate, but the easiest is on your smartphone. Text CCBN, that's CCBN, to 91999. We have already gotten over half of our goal, which is $25,000, with registration donations. And if you haven't given so, please consider doing so. If you gave with your registration, maybe consider giving a little bit more. I'd perhaps like to start by introducing the Cultural Center of Batohola Norte and the Friends of Batohola, for those of you who may not know a lot about us. Batohola Norte is a neighborhood in Managua, Nicaragua, which was born during the Nicaraguan Revolution and over its lifetime has seen a significant amount of deep poverty. Father Angel Torres, a Dominican priest from Spain, and Sister Margie Navarro, a sister of St. Joseph from right here in Cincinnati, Ohio, arrived in Batohola Norte in 1983 and quickly got to work, visiting people, learning people's needs and dreams, and accompanying them. In the early days, there were music lessons, catechism lessons, and the beginnings of education to empower women for confidence in themselves and the skills to earn an income. Today, CCBN remains committed to personal and community transformation in an environment of respect. CCBN's objectives are to create a future for their beneficiaries where there is the right to physical, psychological, and moral integrity. The right to physical, psychological, and moral integrity. This is done through gender and generational violence prevention. CCBN has a psychologist on staff who assist their beneficiaries who have psychological needs, which often stem from violence in the home. CCBN also serves as a community gathering space for celebration of the Eucharist and other church functions. CCBN also wants to create a future where there is a right to education. A right to education. The center provides a full-service library, as well as enrichment and supplement classes to children and youth. They provide scholarships to children and youth, as well as university students. And they provide basic education and vocational training to adults so that they can develop marketable skills to break the cycle of poverty and violence. Finally, CCBN wants to create a future where there is a right to arts and culture. A right to arts and culture, as Nicaraguan schools provide nearly no opportunities for creative development. The center organizes performing arts groups for young people and provides space for cultural activity and exchange. So now for a few words about the Friends of Batohola. Many organizations that are founded through the passion of one or two individuals falter and often perish when their founders retire or pass away. In 2001, founder Sister Margie fell ill. With no government funding and few sources of ongoing support, odds were that CCBN would not survive. On her deathbed, Sister Margie, in one last show of strength, organized her friends to ensure that CCBN would not die when she left this earth. It was at that time, in 2001, that the Friends of Batohola was founded. Currently, we provide approximately 1/3 of the funding for CCBN's operating budget. We manage to do this through raising funds each year. Some of the money raised is sent down for those operating expenses, and some of the money we sock away. We are building an endowment to make sure that the promises Sister Margie's friends made, that we would keep the center viable after she was gone, are kept long into the future. Today's event is just one way we are helping to keep that promise from 19 years ago. So now we're going to present a pre-recorded video with a message from Sonia Oliveras, the general coordinator of the center. And despite the fact that Sonia and I can really only communicate through Google Translate, we have become dear friends over the years. Sonia grew up attending the center as a young girl, and she came back to serve her community. Following that video, Kelsey Overly will give us a walk through the center and the Batohola Norte community, showing a number of programs in action. Enjoy.
El Centro Cultural Batohola Norte está enfrentando un contexto desafiante. Primero, la crisis socioeconómica ponderada desde el año 2018 y ahora sumada a la crisis sanitaria provocada por la pandemia, lo que nos ha obligado a buscar y encontrar opciones para adaptarnos de manera efectiva y creativa. Hemos diversificado nuestras formas de trabajo hacia la comunidad, priorizando el cuidado y la seguridad de la niñez, la adolescencia, los jóvenes y mujeres de nuestros distintos programas, aprovechando estos eventos y convirtiéndolos en oportunidades que nos permita mantener el contacto con nuestros beneficiarios. El acompañamiento emocional, psicosocial y espiritual es una de las formas más efectivas que hemos encontrado para compartir lo que somos y hacemos como organización comprometida con la promoción y la defensa de los derechos humanos. Depositamos nuestra confianza en Dios para seguir con el legado ministerial de nuestros fundadores, la hermana Margarita y el padre Ángel. Seguimos en oración por nuestra comunidad, agradeciendo a cada una de las personas que hacen posible que nuestro proyecto Centro Cultural Batohola Norte siga su propósito de transformar la vida de nuestros beneficiarios. Gracias por acompañarnos en este camino.
Batohola Norte is located in District 2 of Nicaragua's largest city, Managua. It was here in March of 1983 that the Cultural Center of Batohola Norte was founded by two religious missionaries determined to serve the Batohola community during a time of great need and despair. They were Father Ángel Torrellas, a Dominican priest from Spain, and Sister Margarita Navarro, a sister of Saint Joseph of Maday from the United States. Father Ángel was an amazing music teacher, while Margarita Navarro had knowledge in preventative medicine. Even though they both had amazing talents, what changed people's lives was their desire and dedication to spread the word of God and create what they called a new dawn, to bring hope to the people of Batohola. Carrying on their mission today, the center is still striving to provide vocational, technical, and artistic educational opportunities for boys and girls and men and women, giving them the resources to transform their lives personally and as a community. The center gives the people a place where they not only feel safe, but where they can be loved and nurtured as they grow in many ways. Here, the students have the opportunity to grow into who they were meant to become, while focusing on respect, solidarity, and spiritual development. The goal of the center's educational program is to bless these students with the opportunity to acquire skills that can take them where they want to go, whether it be working for a business or even creating their own. While doing this, the center also helps students to feel empowered, building their self-confidence in a compassionate and supportive way. Today, we have 156 students enrolled in the center's technical courses. 67 students, children and adolescents, are growing as they participate in the creative and performing arts and cultural program. We have 30 men and women enrolled in the adult basic education classes, where they will be able to finish their primary school studies, learning to read and write for the first time. In addition, 318 people have the opportunity to participate in the Integrity Program, receiving counseling and participating activities and workshops. Here they learn about their right to live with physical, moral, and emotional integrity. Women in abusive relationships are helped, and men learn what it actually means to be a man while becoming more familiar with what masculinity really is. Here the center provides legal advice and psychological services to the community. From the beginning, the center has embraced an intervention strategy targeting gender, generational, and human rights. On March 18th of 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic arrived in Nicaragua, and the number of students coming to the center dropped drastically. Immediately, the center initiated a preparation and response plan outlining preventative protocols for the Batola community. They prepared sanitation kits for distribution to area families and developed virtual platforms to keep the Batola community informed on critical life-saving health and safety measures. The center remains dedicated to leading the Batola community through these uncertain and extremely difficult socioeconomic times. As always, its mission to create a new dawn of hope remains strong and intact. Even when it seems like the world is ending and there may be no hope, the center and its community of workers and supporters encourage the students to continue in their journey to become who they are meant to be and who they want to be. The center, as always, is giving its community the resources they need to keep moving forward, whether it is through face-to-face classes or virtual learning. We are here for them to be their best individual and collective selves, academically, physically, psychologically, spiritually, and socially.
Wasn't that awesome? Well, part of our program today is an auction of some great items that have been donated by various businesses and individuals. We are so grateful to all of our donors. We are holding that auction on eBay, and there is a link on the landing page for the event in Mobile Cause where you launched this program from, but don't go there now. Please do go there after the program to bid on these terrific items. The auction will be open until Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So it's a regular auction and will end at 9:30 Eastern Time. And I wanted to talk to you and show you a couple of items that are available on the site. There's a terrific Allbirds shoe gift certificate. I have a bid in on that item because everybody I know absolutely loves them. One of the big items are 2 tickets to a March performance of Hamilton the Musical. And what a thing to look forward to after we are able to start congregating again. For those of you with a little one here or on the way, there is this beautiful handcrafted blanket, hand quilted. There is this beautiful art sculpture, and the pictures don't do it justice. It's beautiful, and Maggie Rush dropped it off at our house. It was sitting on our cabinet. It was really quite lovely in person. And then finally, there's one item that we can't put on eBay because it involves wine. And we're going to actually do that auction right here today during this presentation. So it's a wine basket. There's a wooden crate, and I brought the 2 bottles of wine that come with it. And let me make sure that I read this correctly. The first is a Durant and Booth Reserve Red, a 2015. That's this one. And then there is a 2013 Sullivan Heart of the Vine. So these are 2 very fine bottles of red wine. It comes with a beautiful Rydell crystal decanter and a couple of other accessories, some napkins, a thing to clean the carafe. So the way this is going to work is we're going to do the video, or do the bidding through a process of text messaging to my phone. And we're going to put that number up here shortly. This item, the wine item, has a total value of approximately $200, and and we're going to start the bidding at 100. So text me your bid, and it would probably be best for it to be your highest and best bid, but I will update you towards the end of the event so that you can up your bid if necessary, and we'll stop the auction when we sign off. So again, we have a 2015 Durant and Booth Reserve Red and a 2013 Sullivan Heart of the Vine, both Napa Valley reds. So now we're going to go back to the center for a beautiful dance and music performance. This is traditional Nicaraguan music and dance, and one of the very fun things that I got to do during my visits to the center is try to learn traditional dance. Just like Spanish is not my forte, actually dance is way not my forte. So we decided to leave it to those in Managua to show us. Before we go to the video, let me just ask you to please consider texting CCBN to 91999. That's CCBN to 91999 to donate. So we're going to go to that video right now. Thanks. I wanted to say a few more words about the auction. We have tickets to FC Cincinnati match next year. We have an opportunity from Zach Zapato. Zach is an award-winning bartender, and he has donated an experience where he will interview you about your wants and needs regarding cocktails and create specific cocktails just for you. That is a very exciting gift. We have Spanish lessons from Kelsey Overly. I think that I should probably bid on those, but I will leave that to other people. We have a magnificent handcrafted hardwood display cabinet built by Mark Cleespies. We have Ohio Riverboat, beautiful art tiles, a necklace, Jeff Ruby's gift certificates, a Cincinnati experience, some Minneapolis gift certificate. So all of these things, Vermont maple syrup, a half a gallon full. I think that there are plenty of items there, and I encourage you after the event is over, go and bid your hearts out. We really appreciate it. So now for the reason that you're all here probably, not to listen to me, but to talk to Sister Helen Prejean. Sister Helen probably needs no introduction to most of you, but just in case. Born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana in the 1930s, Sister Helen grew up in the segregated Jim Crow South. At the age of 18, she joined the Sisters of St. Joseph. She worked as a high school teacher. She's known around the world for her tireless work against the death penalty. She has been instrumental in sparking national dialogue on capital punishment and in shaping the Catholic Church's vigorous opposition to all executions. After witnessing the executions of 2 men, Sister Helen realized that this lethal ritual would remain unchallenged unless its secrecy was stripped away, and she sat down and wrote the book Dead Man Walking, an eyewitness account of the death penalty in the United States. That book ignited a national debate on capital punishment and spawned an Academy Award-winning movie, a play, and an opera. Sister Helen and CCBN founder Sister Margie Navarro became best friends. And in 1983, Sister Margie and Dominican Father Angel Torres started the Cultural Center. Sister Helen visited CCBN many times. She helped form the Friends of Batahola. She was one of those promise makers. And she is now the honorary president of the Friends of Batahola. Sister Helen's 3rd book, which I have here somewhere, River of Fire, My Spiritual Journey. She's currently collaborating on a graphic retelling of Dead Man Walking. And we happen to be auctioning some signed copies of River of Fire at the auction site. So I hope you will join. So, Sister Helen, tell us all about your experiences with Sister Margie and the center.
I am so ready. It is such a good thing. Unstoppable Learning goes on with me to be a part of this. This is just heart to heart. I don't have any kind of auction thing. I hope you'll support the heck out of that auction. But I just want to tell you the story. It kind of coincides. River of Fire, just talk about how I woke up to the gospel of Jesus, that it was about more than praying for people and being charitable to those around me, but getting involved in working for justice. Grace wakes us up. And in the experience today, do not underestimate how grace might wake us up to make a commitment, a soul commitment to the people of Nicaragua and their struggle there. Not just a one-time event, we participate in a fundraiser, but the Spirit might be waiting for us and moving us today to go deeper. And that's kind of what happened to me. Not kind of, it is what happened to me. So in 1983, our sisters visited. I went with a group of Sisters of St. Joseph to visit Margie in Nicaragua, right as she was just founding the center. And now you look at the tour of the center. I mean, I'm telling you, the guy that laid the cement for the floor of their main activity room didn't know you were supposed to raise it up. It just went down the hill. There was a big slant on the cement floor. Margie lived in the neighborhood of the people for over a year before they trusted her, a gringo, a white woman, to come to her for anything. The revolution had happened. The Contras were killing people to stop the revolution. And so she had to earn the people's trust. And they started the center with this slanted cement floor, learning the gospel of Jesus. And she got a sewing machine and she began to teach women sewing. It's all about relationships. And so the women began to trust her. And Margie and I were just friends, personal friends. When she would come to the States for vacation, we'd be together. And she's telling me these stories of the unbelievable struggles of the people. And if you get River of Fire, you'll see that the waking up led me into the St. Thomas housing projects to live among poor and struggling African-American people in my own city in New Orleans that I lived in the same city with for many years and never entered into their struggle. I never knew them personally. And that waking up is Pope Francis is telling us now that what it means to be a believer in Jesus is to be a field hospital out where the wounded and the hurting people are. And River of Fire is that awakening that happens in me. And part of the deep awakening that happened, I go with the Sisters of St. Joseph to Nicaragua in 83, and Margie already my friend, but I see what they're beginning to do at the center. And look how humble these beginnings are. The slanted floor, one sewing machine, a few people coming. And then, of course, Margie starts reaching out to people she knows in the United States. So at Guardian Angel, I just want to hold up Sue Keefe, because if there is an anchor, if there is a rudder, if there is a steady, unfailing engine of Friends of Bataola, it is Sue Keefe. It is others too, but Sue Keefe. I'll bet you a dime to a dollar. Half those auction items we send today are coming from Sue Keefe. So what happens? So as the center begins, and I begin to meet the women, and I begin to hear their stories. First of all, just story after story, coming up usually in a rural area, having to like bring the produce out to the road, the children working. Nobody's going to school, everybody's working. I'm reading John Lewis's book right now, the civil rights leader, the working in the cotton fields, working. Poor people work, they do manual labor and they get paid a pittance. And not only the young children, especially the young girls working, but being terribly abused, sexually abused every which way, verbally abused, put down, you're nothing, you're dumb, you're stupid, you'll never learn anything. And the stories of some of the women coming to the center, almost all of them had to deal with their husbands who resisted their going to the center. And don't think this is just a Nicaragua thing. I've traveled around the country and been to many, many, many universities, and where you have non-traditional students coming, women going back to college, they always have special counseling for women that come back to college, because at some point there's a tension with their partner or their husband about their going to school. So what happens when a woman is educated, she thinks, she can critique things, and she begins to know her own dignity. So just to tell the story of Connie, who lived diagonally right across from the center, and for years she'd see people going into the center, and she watched from her doorstep there and just said, I'm too stupid. They're all smart people. They all go into a school to learn. I'm too stupid. I can't learn. And then one day she had the courage to walk across the street, literally, and to go into the center. And what she found there was somebody at her side to begin the whole learning process of literacy, how to read. Education, educare, it draws us out. Yeah, you can think. Yeah, you're smart. Yeah, you can figure this out. You don't have to be dumb and stupid and silent and always turn into other experts to, criticize or critique the situation and tell you, oh, this is what you got to do. This is what you got to believe. And not only did she find education, that she began to develop her gifts of thinking and reading and doing math. But she found a group of women like her, because Margie would gather the women once a week. This is how it began, to meditate on the gospel of the Sunday and to ask, what does this have to do with our lives? How is this my story? Who am I? Am I the woman bent over in this story? Who am I in this story? The shepherd, the sheep, where am I? And lo and behold, Connie makes the discovery that other women were having the same struggles. Other women felt, they too thought they were stupid. And they embrace each other and begin to empower each other by hearing other people's stories. You are lifted up as well. I was so touched by what I was seeing, and I recognized it as the struggle that was going on in St. Thomas with Laurie starting Hope House and literacy for the people, and community strength, and people being able to express their powerlessness, their weakness, and in community to be raised up. Another big factor of the center that was different from everything else was the art, the music. A lot of the women, Sonia, you hear the stories, Ileana, Candida, they were all in the choir. They were all part of the music. And it wasn't just doing music together. And when they did that music together, if you got to hear any of it, get the CD of the music of Bata'ola. They experienced their power in a group. Their voice blended with others was more than just doing music. It was a deeply spiritually empowering thing. It also gave them family. It gave them community. It gave them friendship. And they'd be going on bus trips to go and perform. They could be children. And you'd hear laughter. I remember walking across the dusty streets of Bata'ola, poverty everywhere, and coming from the center would be this angelic harmony and music floating in the streets, going through the trees, coming in and out of our hearts, because there was art and there was painting. And if you look at the paintings that were done, it was one of the seeds of the revolution. Every Nicaraguan is a poet. Every Nicaraguan is an artist. And one of the things I learned at Bata'ola, which we came back and did at Hope House with African-American struggling people, was from paper bags, because Nicaragua didn't have any supplies. The U.S. had done an economic boycott. Everything was hard. But using paper sacks, they made poetry books of the people's poetry, the people's poetry book. And they would have it printed. And for the first time, people could see their poem published, because it was in a little book and it was out there and you could spread it around. The empowerment of knowing I have art and beauty inside me and I can articulate. Look how powerful that is, to have your words published. I don't know if they still do that book or not, but we're still doing it at Hope House here in the St. Thomas Projects in New Orleans. I think I only have like 12 minutes. I could be here with you all day. To the women, you know, Sonia, who's now the leader. I can remember being in the office with Margie, and she is in tears. A young woman struggling with every struggle that women in Nicaragua have had, how to be equal with their partners, not to be put down, with no education, no agency, any kind of economic agency that she could do anything on their own. And that's the other part of the center, is to teach women and people's skills, not just women, men too, technical skills, computer skills. Because if you are struggling, one of the things I learned in St. Thomas as well, what poverty does to you, it lessens your choices. You're not free to move to another neighborhood. Poverty restricts you down to a small circle of empowerment of where you can move and have agency in your life. So economic agency is crucial to the dignity of people. And so the center, how to bake, how to do people's hair, the beauticians, everything. And all that had to develop from the ground. It starts with volunteers. We need every kind of resource we can get about Bata'ola. We need to pay our teachers. We need to help them get health care. They are struggling so much against the odds. And now there's this new wave of oppression happening in Nicaragua as well, and COVID. What else can people be asked to endure? There's a psalm that says, God hears the cry of the poor. The question to us is, can we hear it? And here's a Sunday afternoon, and we are gathered virtually. I want to add a little virtuously too, thanks to all the hard work of Sue and Tony and Mark and all the people of Friends of Bata'ola, that think of all the preparation that went into this, and we're doing 1 hour together. And I want to ask you to reach deep in your heart. I know you did your registration and you already have contributed, and maybe you'll do the auction. But I want to really ask you to get in touch with some of the deepest recesses of your heart, to make a commitment to the people of Bata'ola. And I want to ask you to work for them in some way. And that is, each of you listening to this, if you with 2 or 3 friends would make a commitment to pool resources, to generate resources, to get units of $1,000 to send into the center. We have so much. They struggle for the necessities. And the way the Spirit of God works in us, this is ongoing learning for us. This is not us being charitable to those poor people in Nicaragua. This is awakening our hearts to live fully the gospel of Jesus. This is justice. This is sharing the resources of the earth that we have been abundantly blessed with in a country in which we are free and have agency to pursue our lives, and they have next to nothing. And the Spirit is the one who wakes us up and who says, what shall you do? What the eye does not see, the heart cannot feel. And listening to the music that comes out of the depths of this center in Nicaragua, what the ear cannot hear, the heart cannot feel. And to hear the beauty in that music. It's been such a long, hard journey. Margie started with nothing. And when she died, Juanita, her close friend, held her feet. And I was nearby too. And that's when my commitment was made. So Margie's dying, so now what happens? And that's the way the kingdom of God grows inside of each of us. I want to ask you to be generous. And even after you go home, I hope this doesn't leave you. I hope as you go about your business tomorrow, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that this little seed of fire of the needs of the people of Nicaragua burn in your heart, and you get in touch and get deeply involved. And as soon as COVID's over, if you can possibly, well, you make a commitment to do this, to go on one of those trips with Suki and go visit the people and meet them, because they have the power to transform your heart and give you a purpose in life that you never had before. It's what happened to me. So thank you. Thank you for letting me be with you. It's really good to be here. And boy, I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at my whole schedule. I'm looking at, because I haven't been able to be with Nicaragua in a while. I haven't been able to go. I was so consumed with what was going on with the death penalty. But boy, I tell you, thanks for doing this. You're opening up this crack in my heart now of just how am I called to in this. I want to just show you this. It's a little pottery spoon holder. I have it on my stove, and every time I put a spoon on it, and I want to show you this. This hung in the doorway leading from Margie's kitchen into her living room, and every time you went through the door, you bumped it. So here's her voice ringing in our hearts today too. The commitment to the people of Nicaragua. We have to have global hearts. We can't just be in tight circles of people around us, even within the boundaries of our own country. To have a global heart, a gospel heart, to be and committed to the people of Bataola. Thank you. Thank you. Tony, you did a great job. Everybody, you did a great job. It's great to be with you.
Can I ask you a couple questions, sister?
Sure.
Okay, we've had a couple of things come in. One is, could you talk a little bit about those days when Margie was suffering from cancer and the group of you made those promises to her about keeping the center going and developing the Friends of Nicaragua? Could you just tell us a little bit about what that was like and some of the things that was said?
Of course, Margie dying, and the people were like streaming in, I remember. The man, clearly Campesina man, he came to bring Margarita a beautiful plant for her to have. And we were by her. She couldn't keep anything down. But her spirit, she was not afraid at all. And we had humor. I even managed to tell her a Boudreaux Thibodeau Cajun joke, and she laughed. She couldn't keep anything down, but she was drinking Cokes and Cheez-Its. I can't look at a Coke or Cheez-It without thinking of Margie. Her spirit was indomitable. And it was to keep the center going. And it's not that she made a big, big pitch to us, please keep the center going. It was already happening in our hearts. And I remember after she was gone, we sat around her kitchen table, just like 4 of us, and just said, yeah, we got to do it. What can we do? And we had good people who could think through legal things and organizational things. And my sister Marianne was among those that we got to form. Well, let's call it Friends of Batola. And from that kitchen table, and when you read the stories in the gospel, when you read the story of Pentecost, everybody gathered in one room. They're scared of the authorities to come get them. And fire comes. That's a symbolic way of saying suddenly they were not afraid, and they're going to go out and they're going to preach the gospel of Jesus to transform the world. That's what happened around Margie's kitchen table. And so we made a commitment. And from there, we came back to the United States, and it was a whole lot of trouble, all the legalities and stuff, got to form a 501c3, and we did it. And in the process, of course, in doing justice together, you form these lasting friendships with people who become your friends for life. It's one of the gifts of working for justice.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I guess there's one other question that has come in. It's funny that you mentioned the joke, because Erica, Joe, and Kelsey have asked for you to tell the audience one of your Woodrow Thibodeau jokes.
I got to find a clean one. I got to find a clean one.
Gotta find a clean one. But we're not under FCC regulations, so.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of the moral caliber of the group. Let's see. A good Woodrow Thibodeau joke. Oh, God, my mind. I'll give you a minute. Can you talk about something for a little while and let me summon one up?
Sure.
I'll
talk about your book. So here I finally have a copy of the book, River of Fire, and I'm certainly going to be bidding on this. So you all will have to compete against me. But Helen signed these. I think we've got a few copies out there. So we would love to bring in quite a bit from those books.
Okay, I got one.
All right.
All right, now it does have one kind of little earthy word in it, but you can handle it. Boudreaux and Thibodeau, man, they loved to go to the Saints games in New Orleans. See, they live in Cutoff, Louisiana. That's a real name. Right along Bayou Lafourche on the way to the Gulf. But when the Saints had a game in New Orleans, they'd go to that great big Superdome for those games. That was their big treat for their wives too, because they were going for the day. So anyway, they only had one little problem. And it wasn't like for 40 years the Saints lost. No kidding. People would wear paper bags over their heads because it would be so ashamed, but they kept going. They only had one little problem. It was when they came out of that great big Superdome, they never could find their car. And they'd be the last one standing in that great big parking lot. So, boy, they leaving one time, and Boudreaux says to Thibodeau, he said, Tib, my man, I guarantee you this. The next time we come to this here game, we're going to be in a vehicle we're going to recognize a mile away when we come out that dome. Tib say, okay. So Tib's waiting for Boudreaux to pick him up for the game. See, he's curious because he's looking out the window going, what kind of vehicle we going to have we going to recognize? Well, lo and behold, he look out his front window and he see Boudreaux coming on a camel to come pick him up. He said, man, you crazy? We going to game on that animal? He said, yeah, we going to game. This is our vehicle. We're going to see it when we come out too. So they tie up their camel and they go in the Superdome. They come out after the game. Totally underestimate the Cajun grapevine because they had 6 camels tied up. Thibodeau look at Boudreaux. He said, man, they all look alike. They smell alike. How are we going to know which one's ours? And Boudreaux said, man, leave that to me. And he go around behind the first camel and he lift the tail. He look at Thibodeau. He say, not ours. Thibodeau go, what? He go to the second camel. He lift up the tail. He look at Thibodeau. He say, not ours either. And Thibodeau said, man, you crazy? Why are you lifting up the tails of them animals? And Boudreaux said, didn't you hear what the people said when we came in the parking lot? Look at them 2 assholes on that camel. Y'all can handle earthy, huh?
We can handle earthy. That's awesome. Well, thank you Thank you so much, Sister Helen. Thank
Margie
you.
used to laugh at those jokes. Oh God, she laughed so hard. And she'd have to translate for me, see? So while she's translating it, she's killing herself laughing because she's coming to punchline. It was wonderful. Look, love to you all. God bless Bataola. Let us continue. May the commitment rise in our hearts to be with these people and to support them.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for being here today. And even more importantly, thank you for everything you do for the marginalized of the world. You are a difference maker.
Have to do it. Have no choice.
You humble me. You humble me. Thank you, sister.
Thank you.
And thanks to so many who have made this event possible. Thanks to our donors, to our co-presidents, Sue Keefe and Pat Burning, the chairs of our auction, Maggie Rosh and Dave Stickle, chairs of communication, Nancy Cleespies and Janine Blatt, and chairs of technology, Mark Overly and Michael Keefe. And thanks
Tony,
to
I forgot to mention,
Oh.
Tony. I forgot to mention Pat Burning. She's been part of the hub up to. I just have to mention Pat Burning.
Yes, Sister Pat Burning. Pat Burning and Sue Keefe are both, they are remarkable, aren't they? For sure.
Yeah, they are.
And then finally, I want to thank Jesse Waits Media. He managed our technology today and just took a huge weight off of my shoulders. So I want to close just in my own thoughts about this internal tension that we feel. I visited the center twice, and it is a beautiful place in a depressed area of town, but an area of town that is just full of beautiful people who have wonderful joy, and the wonderful interactions we have with the brothers and sisters. There's this tension about the sadness that we feel about the poverty that they endure, and it's difficult for us to reconcile in our minds. The best part of my trip to Nicaragua, though, I went with a bunch of teenagers, 30 teenagers on each trip, which you can imagine is a little chaotic. But the best part of my trip was the resolution in their voices that as people of God, we have a responsibility to help the poor. And I think that each one of those kids that walks away from that trip believes that in their hearts. I have a canvas in my office with a quote from Gandhi that says, "You must be the change you want to see in the world." And Sue Keefe, who Sister Margie talked about, since my first trip to Nicaragua, has become a dear friend. She has helped me to understand a basic principle of life that St. Teresa of Calcutta preached. When it's too overwhelming to feed the whole world, feed one person. So what does it mean to help the poor? Prayer, certainly. Never underestimate the power of prayer. And I ask you to all include the poor, especially those of Nicaragua, in your prayers every day. But as we know, prayer doesn't pay the bills, and the Friends of Batahola and CCBN have enabled us to make sure that our money is helping at least one person, and actually it's helping hundreds of people who walk through the center's doors. There are no organizations that are middlemen in this process, and I ask you to be generous. Text CCBN to 91999, or you can give through our website if that's easier, or you can send us a check. But texting CCBN to 91999 is the easiest way to do it. Also, I wanted to mention that if you give a gift over $500, you will receive a copy, one of the copies of Sister Helen's book. So, over $500, you'll get to receive that book. So I have two asks. One is please give generously, not just today, but please remember CCBN through the year. We will send information. We have quarterly newsletters. We have regular information on our website. So please give generously. Please remember our friends in Nicaragua. And two, importantly, after the event, go to that auction site, access through the link that's on that page that you accessed that was texted to you. And if you have any questions, reach out to those to who you know on Friends of Batahola board, and we can fill that out for you. So that's about all we have for today. I thank you so much. Thank you for participating. God bless. Adios.